Hello everybody, my name is Jermaine Bibb. I am a newly instrument rated pilot. I just recently received my instrument rating within a couple weeks, a few weeks ago and everything, and I just want to make a video on the debrief of my check ride, how it went, mainly because there's a lot of videos out on YouTube that really helped me, or on social media YouTube that really helped me to obtain my license, as far as what I was questioning and had trouble understanding, and just wanted to see how other people's check ride went, what the DP asked them, and there's quite a few videos of people doing a debrief. So I kind of want to do my due diligence and give back to just helping whoever is next or trying to obtain their rating, and understand that that this may pop up on your exam. We kind of have the ACS and everything, but I think it's much more easier to hear from the mouth of somebody who actually goes through it, and somebody you can actually relate to and everything, just to understand how the check ride went. And I just want to give my opinions on that and kind of give a little debrief on how mine's went and everything. It's been a long time coming and everything. I got my private license last year in January, so I'm not saying I've been training instrument the whole time, but spent some time actually flying and just getting used, building up my proficiency and getting comfortable with the aircraft that I'm checked out in. And I think that really played a big impact on me being comfortable on my check ride, as far as learning and doing the instrument, obtaining my instrument rating. So it's been a long time coming, y'all. So if you're through the process and you think that it's been just because it's been a year or so, don't worry about it. Everybody goes at their own pace, and you should feel comfortable at whatever pace you're at. You know what I'm saying? It's not it's a marathon. You know what I mean? So take your time and don't rush the knowledge. It will come to you, and do whatever you need to do. With that being said, there's a lot of videos on YouTube that help me. So I encourage you, if you're struggling with a particular subject or anything, just search it on YouTube or social media, internet. We have all that access at the tip of our hands. So look it up, and there's some type of content out there that helps you, with debriefs and everything. Just anything, literally, it's out there at the edge of your fingertips. So take advantage of technology and just use it to your advantage. I do want to give a shout out to all my instructors that helped me along the way, from my privates and my current instrument instructors. Had quite a few, not because I'm a bad student, but just because everybody, like I said, everybody goes at their own pace. So your instructor's pace might not be at your pace, and they move on. So, but there's always hands that help with the knowledge of what you learn throughout the process and everything, and rubbing shoulders with the right people. I used to work at the FBO in Louisville, and just from working there, I met a lot of good people that were instructors, but they wasn't necessarily my instructors. So just picked up a lot of knowledge from that, just being around the airport a lot. I encourage anybody who's trying to obtain their license, whether it's the private or any other ratings, if you have ones with extra money, it'd be cool to work at the airport. That really helped me a lot. I met a lot of good people, networking and everything, and I wouldn't be here today if I wouldn't be made as far along as I am today if I didn't meet those people. So shout out to them, and just stay consistent with everything. I'm very blessed to be able to have my license and to be able to do what I'm doing. So I do not take it for granted, and I just want to pay it forward and help whoever is going to get their license or ratings next, and encourage them that it's possible and you can make it happen. So just don't be discouraged, and just stay consistent with everything you're trying to do. It's very important. I do want to say that on the day of my check ride, I was super duper nervous, just as you should be. Everybody's it's a normal thing, so nervous is good. As we got closer and closer, I became more and more nervous. So shocker, so if you're not nervous, I guess it's not a bad thing, but being nervous is not a bad thing either. So so I guess everybody's different and everything. Make sure you eat a good breakfast, get the right amount of sleep and everything, and just have faith, and just know that you're going to knock it out. Prepare yourself well for this. Trust your instructor, trust your learning. If you have questions about anything, just look it up. Like I said, everything's at the tip of your fingers. So just be confident with that, and stay consistent with everything you do. I do want to say, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm making a whole debrief video, so I want everybody to feel comfortable reaching out to me. My Instagram is Jermaine Bibb _ I'm gonna have it pop up at the bottom right here, and on Facebook you can find me at Jermaine Bibb. Like I said, just feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We're a big aviation family, so I want to encourage people not to be shy and holler at me if you have any questions about that. or about this debrief or just about anything. Like I said, I'm have my private pilot license going on 2 years now, and I just got my instrument rating. So, I'm trying to help whoever's out and has questions, and just trying to pay it forward. So, like, subscribe, comments one of the most biggest things I want to help everybody engage in, and just let them know that I'm here for them if they need me. Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible. I don't want to make it a long 30-45 minute video, but I do want to just kind of go through everything that I went through on my check ride. I feel like that's kind of important, or helpful, excuse me, not necessarily important, but just helpful. I want to be a tool to whoever is working on an instrument rating right now. So let's dive into it. So with the check ride, of course, you go in. Normally with a DP or my DP, he sent me an email a couple nights before telling me what the scenario is going to do as far as across country, what to bring into the check ride and everything. The ACS standards, and the ACS standards that has a checklist of stuff that you want to bring to the check ride. So make sure you look at the ACS for your instrument rating check ride, and make sure you pay a close attention to detail of what what the DP sends you in the email. Whether he be a male or female, just make sure you pay attention to the email that he or she sends, because that will detail a lot of with the check ride and everything. So like I said, he gave me a scenario on what he wants my flight plan to be. So for my scenario, he had me go to Chicago, and I had to get a wife to Chicago. And she's getting married and everything, but we had to park. She wanted us to get to be as close to the inner city as possible, or to the city as possible, because she gets car sick. So she don't want to be on those long drives and everything. So I made sure I chose an airport that's close to downtown Chicago, and we made it comfortable for her, so she won't get car sick. Now, with her being on a plane, car sick and plane sick, I guess it's two different things, but whatever. That's why they call it a scenario. So I chose an airport close to Chicago. That was my scenario. Just make sure the whole point is make sure you read the email. Most of the stuff is in the email that he wants you to, the checklist and what to bring this. So I created myself a little checklist based off the email he sent, making sure I had everything lined up in prep of my check ride day and everything. So read the email briefly and understand it. Of course, he went through my documents. Before we did anything, we went through the documents as far as my, he looked at my government issued ID, my medical, my pilot certificate, make sure everything was current and good. Looked at the plane airworthiness certificate and everything as far as the maintenance and all that stuff. So I heard people actually write down stuff. Sometimes they write it on the board. If they get their maintenance book and write everything, if they got a whiteboard accessible inside the classroom where you would be doing your check ride, go ahead and write it on the board. I didn't do that, but because there's already more organized plane on the binder that we already had. But I heard that's pretty helpful as well. I was going to do that, but it was just right there in front of our face already, so there was no point in me going the extra yard of putting the maintenance information on the whiteboard that we had. So the first thing we did talk about was how to log an approach. So he gave me the scenario: if I'm flying with my mom and we're inbound and everything, and we shoot an approach, can I log it if I'm with my mom? So just thinking about that, everything. So he was kind of trying to get out of me mostly just what do I need to log an approach? You know what I mean? So I could log an approach with my mom, but I don't need to be in like instrument conditions and everything. Using sole reference of the instrument, so she's not a safety pilot, so you need to work out the logistics with that. So he pretty much wanted me to break down how to log an approach, how can I successfully log an approach and everything. We went on to talk about currency. So currency is important. Make sure how to stay current. You got the 6 hits and everything. So that when we talked about that briefly and everything, that went well. Now this, like I said, this is I do want to say that all check rides are not the same. Excuse me. So all check rides are not the same, y'all. So just because I'm saying this about my check ride does not necessarily mean you're going to be having this on your check ride. You know what I mean? So, because you might have missed some things on the written that I didn't miss, or I might have missed some things that you didn't miss. So everybody's check ride is different. I do know the DPE prepares a list of questions beforehand before coming to the check ride. So don't expect what I'm saying, what happened on my check ride, to be on yours. This is just a debrief of how mine went. And, like the ones I've watched before, some of the questions they said that it was on theirs wasn't on mine. So it's all different, but it's just all essentially an aid to help you be more comfortable going into your check ride and be more prepared. So, and this is not in no particular order either. We didn't go in no order as far as what I'm saying. I just kind of after the check, probably the day after the check, right, a day and a half or two, I just spilled everything out on a piece of paper, try to, figure it out, and I wanted to make a video of it and help whoever out I could going forward. So we also talked about the MDA minimums, what we needed to send below those. 91.175 was specifically brought up about the lighting list systems and everything. What we needed to send below the DH or the DA, and how can we when can we descend below the MDA and everything. So know that content and know that, and just know how to know when it's necessary to descend below that. Know about your lighting systems and everything. We went on to talk about personal minimums. So I didn't have my personal minimums written out. I encourage people to write them out. He wasn't on me big about that, but he just said it's easier for you to honor your personal minimums when you write them out. So it's cool to do that. So I think you should definitely write your personal minimums out. I heard there's a paper online that you can print off to help with that. So I encourage people to go online and look up personal minimum sheet and fill out all the information on there. That way you can honor it, and it just makes you more easier to honor your personal minimums. Because if, like, my personal minimums was, I think I said it was 1,503 statute miles, because I'm a newly rated instruments pilot, so I don't want to go crazy with the 500-foot ceilings and all that stuff. So I just wanted to play it safe. But if the ceiling, he just told me if the ceilings was 1,400 feet and 2 statute miles, if you got your minimums written down, you will honor it more. So I took that to heart, and I actually ended up writing down my personal minimums. I'm sure eventually I'll fade away from that because I'll become more proficient as a pilot. So that's kind of the goal. But the point of it is just having your personal minimums written on the sheet. I encourage people to do that and bring it in. That way, when you talk about it, you kind of got them all right there, and he or she will be very impressed with that. Also talked about GPS sensitivities. So when I say GPS sensitivities, I necessarily mean the en route, terminal, and approach sensitivities of your GPS, 2, 1, and 0.3. So just know those, and just know about the GPS sensitivities. We talked about it briefly and everything. Know the difference between a localizer and a localized performance chart. So that's very important to know the difference between those two. Not chart, excuse me, localized performance, LP. So, you got LP minimums and you got localizer minimums. So know the difference between those. Very important. If you don't know that, the localizer stays at 0.3 sensitivity all the way to the runway. But as we get close to the runway with localized performance, LP, it becomes more sensitive. So that 0.3 goes down and becomes more sensitive as you get closer, which is why it's a more accurate approach. And, if you have that privilege of using it, if you have that capability on your aircraft, I suggest you using that, the LP minimums, and since, it makes it more sensitive, which is more accurate adjustment to landing when you're in instrument conditions. We talked about the 1, 2, 3 rule for alternates. Very important, of course, because, when you listen to alternate, I had to listen to alternate from across country. So you just want to talk just know the 1, 2, 3 rule within an hour before or after your departure time, arrival time, within 2,000-foot ceilings and within 3 statute miles. So just know that, and what you need to list airports and alternates. So your alternate minimums and everything. Know the T and the A on the approach charts, because not all airports got the same alternate minimums, and some of them are not. A lot of them actually is non-standard. So just make sure you know what the T and A stands for on the approach chart and everything, approach plate. So just know that. Know the departure procedure. Know what's the whole point of the ODP, the departure procedure, the SIDS, and all that stuff. We talked about stars and everything. So just understand what's the point of that, and what we need, why it will be an aid for us, and for potentially for ATC. You know what I mean? So we talked about that briefly and everything. We went on to talk about the stars. Like I said, since I was flying in Chicago, we talked about stars for a little bit, and kind of just told me that since Chicago is such an active airport, active airspace, they probably won't give you a stars arrival and everything. So if 172 coming in, we're messing with the jets. I'm sure ATC doesn't want to deal with too much with you and everything, but he definitely just wanted to make sure I understood what it was, what's the point of it and everything. So we talked about that. I am based at KLOU, Louisville, Kentucky, Bowman Field. So we talked about runway 33 in particular, as far as the takeoff minimums, Part 91 takeoff minimums, if you know that. Just know that there are none. So just, so you can take off at whatever, but it wouldn't be smart, because if something happens, you probably won't be able to get back down immediately, because there's minimums as far as landing. But takeoff minimums for the runway 33 at Louisville Bowman Field. Feel free to look that up. KLOU runway 33. We just talked about that briefly and everything. Just make sure he understood. I knew where to find the takeoff minimums and the alternate takeoff minimums and everything, or the alternate landing minimums, whatever was right there. We also talked about circling the land. Because circling the land is very important. Just make sure you know the distance you need to circle the land, the visibility, knowing the minimums for circling the land and everything. So we talked about that. Then we talked about how to go missed on the circle of land. So if you go missed on the circle of land, you're going to circle towards the airport. So make sure you know that. A lot of people get that. Apparently a lot of people get that wrong on how do they go missed. There's videos on YouTube for that as well. I watched a couple of them and everything, just because I didn't really quite understand it. But, just the internet's at our fingertips, y'all. So just take advantage of that. Look up the videos and just get a better understanding of how to circle the land, or anything you have questions on. So make sure you know how to circle the land. If you lose sight of the runway, how to go missed. If you're in a circle to land pattern for a particular runway. We did talk about why I chose a destination airport. Excuse me. I do, like I said, he gave me a scenario, so I chose a destination airport because it would best aid our passenger. You know what I mean? So if she gets car sick and she don't want to have a 2-hour drive or hour and a half drive into downtown Chicago, let's try to park closer to Chicago, to downtown Chicago, and figure something out. So explain that to him and everything. We talked about canceling a flight plan. So you want to know about how to cancel a flight plan. With that particular airport, it has a tower, so it automatically cancels. But if you're not at a non-towered airport, how do you cancel a flight plan? So just make sure you know stuff about that and everything. Talk about entering holds, how to enter a hold and everything. So that's important. You got the teardrop, direct, and the parallel entry for holding patterns. So just make sure you have a good understanding of those. He did give me a scenario on lost comms. So if he gave me a heading, he was like, okay, so we're flying a 030 heading and we're at 2,600 feet. Then all of a sudden, they assign you that, so pretty much you're being vectored at that point. And they, ATC, all of a sudden ATC, you lose comms with ATC. So he asked me what I would do to pick back up on ATC and what's my strategy on that. So the first thing I told him, I definitely was like, let's troubleshoot. I go back to the old frequency, try a different frequency, trying to see what's going on with that. He's like, okay, no good, still doesn't work. So next thing is squawk 7600. So make sure you squawk to 7600, and let's let ATC know that you're having trouble with your comms and everything. So do that. And at that point you would proceed to the initial approach fix after you go through your MEA and your AVF as far as the altitude and route. But he was like, you go to your, I explained to him, go to your initial approach fix. The initial approach fix here at Bowman is Nunya for RNAV 24. We're talking about RNAV 24 now. And to cross Nunya, you need to be at 3,000. So with us being at 2,600, the assigned altitude and the assigned heading of 030, that was not going to take us towards Nunya. So with us being losing comms and everything, we would proceed direct Nunya at 3,000. Why 3,000? Because it's there for a reason on the approach plate, the obstruction clearance and everything. So that's the most safest altitude to be at. So I don't want to maintain 2,600 or anything. I want to climb to 3,000, proceed direct Nunya. So at that point, we went off the vectors and changed the altitudes because of the lost comm scenario. He also mentioned that, and I kind of said this too, but he mentioned it's important to keep trying. You know what I'm saying? Just because we're lost comms, just make sure y'all keep trying. Let them know that. Let him or her know that I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying Bowman Tower on my way in. All of a sudden, it might come back. Okay, hey, Bowman Tower, 984 Julie Alpha, establish final. See if we can hear you. How do you hear? Okay, we hear you loud and clear. 984 Julie Alpha, runway 24, clear to land. So just keep trying as the process of you doing the lost comm procedure and everything. So don't count that out or anything. Ifr Fuel Requirements. From your departure airport to your destination airport, plus 45 minutes, then to your alternate airport plus 45 minutes at regular cruise. So just make sure you know about the fuel requirements, know about the time that you have on board of your fuel. So that's very important as well. So just know how much time you have on fuel, because if you go to your destination airport and all of a sudden you can't get in there, it's important that if ATC tells you to go here and hold for a little bit, how much fuel I have on board. Like, hey, ATC, and don't be afraid to let them know. Hey, ATC, low fuel, we need to get to their alternate as soon as possible, please. Just so let them know communication is big on the check ride and just in flying in general. So make sure you do that. He also asked why I chose the altitude that I flew at. So that's very important. The altitude that I flew at. Why did I choose it? So I chose it because the MEA, obstruction clearance, and smoother air, whatever. So just explain to him why you chose the altitude. I'm sure you have reason behind it. So important to talk about that. He or she will bring that up, maybe, but mine's did. So just want to say that. We also talked about, he had me print off a flight plan, which was in the checklist I was talking about earlier. Print off my actual flight plan that I will file with, that I will file. So I actually printed off an old flight plan form. It's that flight plan form. I printed off the old one. Now we use ICAO flight plan form. I use ForeFlight, so I really could have went into ForeFlight flight plan and kind of printed it directly from there. Would have printed for me. So if you have ForeFlight, take advantage of that, and just if he or she asks you to print up a flight plan form, just go on ForeFlight, go to your flight plan and everything that you would normally do via ForeFlight, and print it off through there. You know what I'm saying? So ICAO is just pretty much what he was trying to get in my head. That's the new form that we use nowadays. So like I said, I brought in an old one, but he was pretty lenient on that. We just kind of talked about the new form and everything. We talked about the different types of icing. Very important to know about the different types of icing, because if you encounter icing, what type of icing is it, and all that. The rime ice, the clear ice, the mixed ice. How does it form? What does it take to form? What does it take to form icing and everything? So just make sure you know stuff like that. And it's very important how to get rid of it, the types of icing system, the de-icing and anti-icing system. What's the difference between de-ice and anti-ice? He definitely asked me that. So be prepared, just in case your DP may ask you that, the difference between anti-ice and de-ice. So just know that. We did talk about frost. How could frost form? How to get rid of frost? So would you take off with frost? Of course you wouldn't. But how do you get rid of frost? If you don't want to take off with frost, how can you get rid of frost? There's different methods of getting rid of frost. So just think about those methods before you go in, just to be prepared and everything, because you never know what he or she might throw at you. He had me print off all the weather en route, so my briefing. So like I said, I use ForeFlight, so I kind of just went into ForeFlight and just printed off it gives you a briefing tab after you put that flight path in your flight section. So just go through it and look at the weather. Of course, be familiar with it before you go into your check ride, but just make sure you print that off. It's at your fingertips, so just understand it and be able to explain it to them. We talked about the different prog charts, the high pressure, low pressure systems. What does a warm front look like? What does a cold front look like? Occluded front. We didn't go too much into detail, spend too much time with that. Just kind of make sure I was knowledgeable of what the chart was, what's the point of it, and what the symbols meant. So just study that. You want to know this stuff anyway, y'all, because you're out there. You're the one out there, not him. You know what I'm saying? He or she done already went through their experience. So for the safety of yourself and the passengers that you're flying, you kind of want to know how the weather is, what these symbols mean, what this means, what that means. It's very important. And I can encourage everybody just to, if you don't understand it, just understand, dive into it, do more research on it. Look at the freezing levels, the winds, air mats, sig mats. Talked about those for a little bit, the different types of air mats and the different types of sig mats and everything. So, you got the Zulus, the Sierras, the Tangos and everything. Just to be able to explain those and know what those mean, just in case those pop up on a chart or even on an ATIS and everything. If ATC comes over comms and just let you know that there's a yada 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 sig mat in place or yada 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 air mat in place, just understanding that more. But so we talked about the METAR en route. We went over the airport. We went over the METARs for the different airports that I flew over en route. So just be able to understand the METARs, be able to read the METAR and everything. He made sure I knew the symbols and everything, what they explained. So literally just read a METAR and read it good, and it was good with that. Same thing with the TAFs. Be able to understand the TAFs, the different symbology of a TAF, and know what the different things mean, the different numbers, the words, and just the TAFs. Self-explanatory. Understand how to read a TAF and know what it means. You know what I'm saying? Don't be able to be able to read it, but actually know what this means and everything. Clouds, thunderstorm stages. So be able to understand what the stages are for a thunderstorm. different type of clouds, not necessarily different types of clouds. We didn't go into detail about that, but just be able to understand the thunderstorms. I know that he asked me that, will I fly through the front end of a cloud or the back end of a cloud? You know what I'm saying? Which would be more safer? So just look up stuff like that and just be able to understand safety of the clouds, of thunderstorm clouds. You know what I mean? So, because once you're out there, it's real deal. It's showtime. You know what I mean? So you don't want to go through the center of a cloud and get tossed around. Because it can get, if you watch case studies, which I encourage people to do, watch case studies. After you watch case studies, you'll see that people unintentionally get themselves mixed up in a lot of thunderstorm clouds, and the cause of that, the result of that can be, bad, not only for the aircraft, but for the pilot, you know what I'm saying? Rather be fatal or just mentally bad, after you get back out the back end of it. So just understand the safety of flying through clouds and thunderstorm clouds and everything. We did talk about the current weather, and we just kind of briefly talked about that. The current weather at the airport. So okay, we're about to go fly. So what's the current weather here? So let's talk about this. What would you do? This and that. So just know about the current weather, the day of the check ride and everything too. Should be easy. We're instrument pilots, so we're private pilots already. So just be able to understand the weather initially and everything. So I do want to say that throughout that whole oral, and that's pretty much my little briefing of the oral, but you're acting as an instrument rated student. So an instrument rated pilot. So be able to, every answer that you're answering, it is you already considering yourself an instrument rated pilot. So just think about that. But that concludes the oral part of it, guys. I can go through the brief flying, briefly of the flying portion of it. If you guys want to stick around. But other than that, that was the oral. Thanks for watching. Y'all do want to say like, subscribe, comment below. At this point, a little checkpoint before we go into the flying part of it. Comment below if you have any questions about the oral or just any questions in general about how my check ride went, what I did to prepare, and just anything, So just feel free to reach out, y'all, for real. For my flying portion, excuse me, y'all, gosh, talking a lot. So for my flying portion, y'all, so he kind of told me ahead of time, okay, we're going to be going to JBY, which is Clark County Airport, right next to Bowman, probably a 5-minute flight, probably 5 to 7 minute flight from Bowman Field to Clark County Regional Airport, JBY, so LOU to JBY, not that long. So go ahead and take advantage of looking up the, NW crafts. There you go. Just look at NW crafts. You know where you're going. So after you do the unusual attitudes and everything and all that, you know where he's going to take you at the shoot the approaches. So NW crafts, and of course at the airport that you're departing from too. So just make sure you're familiar with both those airports. If he or she tells you where you're going, look it up while you're doing your pre-flight and everything. Do your pre-flight, and if he's out there with you or not out there with you, rather that to be the case, look up everything. So NOTAMs, weather, known delays, runway lengths, all that, alternates if you needed one. But of course the weather will be good because you already looked at the weather. But if you needed to alternate, the fuel requirements, runway and takeoff and landing requirements and all that stuff. So look it up ahead of time. I promise you it will save you so much time and hassle during the flight. You know what I mean? So if you know the NOTAMs and you know the NOTAMs going to be increased, a minimum of an MDA minimum or a localizer minimum or LPV minimum, whatever, will be increased. Go ahead and write that down in your approach plate. I encourage that. So just do that. I do want to say that make sure you know every symbol, back to the oral part of it, make sure you know every symbol in the approach plate. Very important. What does this symbol mean? That symbol mean. There's YouTube videos on that too. So encourage y'all to watch those and do that. So yeah, just know the NOTAMs and everything. I just want to push that in y'all head to write down the minimums. It's the minimum change. Go ahead and write in your approach plate because that will save you so much time. Because a lot of these NOTAMs, they're so lengthy in the thing that it's hard to, if you don't have autopilot, it's hard to focus, go up and down, up and down. So okay, you're here, maybe all of a sudden you got a whole paragraph to read, then you got to look up and you got to worry about the heading, altitude, and all that stuff. So I encourage you, just stay ahead of the plane. And if you can look at the information before you even start the plane, even better. So let's just stay ahead like that. He does act as ATC throughout the whole flight. So he made sure that I know that we are simulating instrument conditions the whole flight. So literally after we took off, we was literally after we took off, he made me put my foggles on pretty much. So not literally after we took off, but probably after we made our little right turn to the northeast and everything, probably like not even a minute and a half. He's like, okay, here's flight controls. Make sure you use a positive exchange of controls. Your flight controls, my flight controls, your flight controls. You know what I'm saying? So do that. Be able to do that, and just like I said, simulating instrument conditions the whole time. So just realize that he's the safety pilot. You know, that's he or she's a safety pilot. So just make sure you realize that he's acting as ATC. He was acting as ATC for me. So I had a dial up clearance. You know, and we went through the whole shindig of, you know, getting clearance, delivery, and everything. So, you know, craft, make sure you write that down. If you got a little notepad on your kneeboard, craft, and I encourage you to fill in the stuff that you already know. Like I knew that the departure frequency was probably going to be 132.07 over at Bowman, because it always is. So I already had that written down. And I've heard that I haven't fouled yet before. Well, I fouled my instructor before and everything, but sometimes it sends you your expected route. So, you know, we went to you know, if you're going to JVY, clear to Juliet Victor Yankee as fouled, but for his it was Juliet Victor Yankee via radar vectors, 5030 heading, climb and maintain 1,800 until it's climb to 1,800, expect 3,010 after departure, departure frequency 132.07, excuse me y'all, 132.07, and squawk 1200. So that was probably literally as close as that was probably what I had get called up. Figure out some abbreviations that work for y'all, because it's going to be a time where you're going to have a long clearance readback, and it's going to, you know, they're going so fast that you're not going to be able to write the whole word of expect, you know, after, you know. So use abbreviated EX, AFT, you know, 10, just have a process in your head of how you abbreviate things and everything. So we did that. Like I said, foggles on immediately. We're simulating instrument conditions the whole time. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward a little bit. If you're about to do approach, if you're about to land, if he or she doesn't say runway in sight, that means the runway is not in sight. We are in the funk still. You know what I'm saying? We are still in the clouds and all that, in the soup. If the runway is not in sight by your safety pilot, go and miss. Once you hit that missed approach point, go miss. So that's something I definitely want to push on people. Make sure y'all know that. So then, but after departure and everything, he assigned headings, flew headings under the foggles and everything. We went into unusual attitudes. How he made me do my unusual attitudes. Some DPs make you look straight down. He actually made me look down, then go to the right with my eyes closed. You know, hopefully at this point you'll be able to feel when your airplane's changing. So I could feel him kind of playing with my trim, you know what I'm saying, you know, going up and down and everything. So I was like, oh, you know, I could kind of anticipate what was about to happen because I felt the plane changing, you know. So, you know, I encourage the plane that you're flying and you're very familiar with it, to where you can feel those levels changing. It's like, hold on, he's doing something. He or she's doing something. Okay, I feel it. Okay, I get it. So we did that. 10 degrees left, 15 degrees right, and all that stuff. It made me turn certain degrees while up under the hood, and my head's down like that. So, you know, I kind of just counted counted as I was doing it, and made sure I kept the level flight, no abrupt movements, and just kept it nice and smooth for him. And he actually helped me out, saying, okay, level wings. You know, then you level your wings, keep it smooth. So become familiar with a lot of that. Go back to being familiar with the aircraft and just having a feel. So I had a feel for it, and you know, once I leveled off, I felt like I was leveled off, because you know, you can tell when you're rocking or you're left heavy and everything, you know, from the feel of the airplane. So I encourage people to have a great feel of the airplane that you'll be doing your check ride in. So as far as the approach, we went directly to the initial approach fix, enter a hold, then shot the approach in. I think that we do one precision and two non-precisions, or however it works and everything. But we did a precision first, then we did non-precisions after that. So we went all the way down. Make sure you don't bust your minimums, y'all. Very important. Don't bust your minimums. Once you hit your minimums, stay there, unless know your knowledge on how to, if you can descend below your minimums or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's your safety pilot. So listen to him on, like, okay, runway in sight. Otherwise, all your eyes is inside the cockpit scanning, you know, sole reference of instruments. That's it. So after we did the miss, he gave me alternate miss instructions. So like I said, he's acting as ATC. We're not really calling up ATC, which was kind of a struggle because after he tells me something, I'm like, I really want to press the button. A couple times I actually pressed the button, but I didn't say nothing. I just let it go real quick. So just be ready for that as your DP to act as the ATC. So, he gave me alternate miss instructions. So I have my kneeboard ready to copy alternate miss. Be ready to copy that. So he gave me alternate miss. We didn't do the push miss at all because where the JBY is kind of active when we got SDF is pretty close to us as well. So can't interfere with the international traffic they got coming in or the big Airbuses they got coming in. So we had to stay at a certain altitude and everything. So we couldn't actually use the published miss. So that's why he assigned the alternate miss. So just make sure you do that. As I got closer and closer, I kind of put my alternate miss in. That way, I know that's one less thing I got to do, when just in case I do go miss. All right, I already got my heading bugged 2030, and I already got my altitude bugged 2000. You know what I mean? So just try to stay ahead of the plane as much as possible. Very important. So after we did that, we shot a non-precision with vectors. So vectors meet a non-precision. And actually, it wasn't a non-precision because it was an ILS. He vectored me for the ILS, but then on that, he killed my glide slope. I was flying in the G1000, so it was technically my glide slope wasn't killed. So it just, just an honor code and everything, but I'm sure you can tell if I was following my glide slope down. So he pretty much told me my glide slope was gone. I didn't reference my glide slope at all after that. So then, if you're doing a precision approach and your glide slope fails, or ILS approach and your glide slope fails, you change your minimums to localizer minimums. So you do that. This goes back to just goes back to the NOTAM. So I know at JBY they got NOTAMs for the localizer and the LPV minimum, and the ILS minimum. So just make sure you read the NOTAMs. I just want to push that in your head. It's important to read the NOTAMs, y'all. Read the NOTAMs beforehand, because if you already got that written down inside your approach plate, it's all good, So do all that, and let's rewind real quick. Make sure you check the ATIS and all that on the way back in, because after we did our unusual attitudes, we had some time to go to initial approach fix before proceeding inbound. Make sure you brief the approach plate. Everything, top to bottom, check the ATIS, highlight whatever you need to do just to know where your minimum is going to be and everything. So just be ahead of the plane. The main thing is staying ahead of the plane. That makes it so much easier, especially with me, because I mean, even though I'm in the G1000, I was flying and did not have autopilot. So I'm hand flying everything. So it's very important. It was important for me to make sure I had everything trimmed out in the plane how I wanted to be, because otherwise that's the next thing I got to worry about. So, and don't spend too much time looking down, y'all. So, if you look at your NOTAMs or whatever, don't, keep it brief. Keep it brief. This sentence, all right, this couple sentences, if you read fast, all right, cool, look up, scan, make sure you're on the right heading, right altitude, just do that. So I encourage you to do that. So back to the approach. So he killed my glide slope, so change the localizer minimums, maintain the localizer minimums all the way in. If he or she doesn't say runway in sight, runway's not in sight. We actually did a circle to land for runway 36, because the runway on JBY is 18 and 36. So we did a circle to land. We was only able to do the circle to land after we had the runway in sight. So once we got close enough, he was like, runway in sight. All right, fog was off. Cool, see the runway, let's proceed to circle to land. It was very active at the time at JBY, so it's a non-tower airport. So make sure that you're familiar and very comfortable. Do the practice reps of flying into a non-towered airport, and having to switch frequencies and everything, and then circle to land, because the workload can become a lot. It can become very heavy if you're not, prepared and just anticipating everything. So we had traffic in the pattern and everything when we did the circle to land. So, just make sure you stay on the comms, letting them know, okay, ILS 5 miles on the ILS 18, circle to land 36, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just stay communicated. Take advantage of all your resources and all the devices you have in the aircraft. He also killed my screen, my display screen. So, with the G1000, it's as simple as pressing the red button to where if he blackens this screen, it goes from the PFD to the MFD. So, this would be used to flying, I know you used to using the PFD, but be used to flying, if you're using G1000, fly the MFD. You'd be used to flying, looking at to your right side and being able to do that. So he did kill my thing on that. So, and just all this, you will know this will happen based off looking at the ACS, you know what I'm saying, that he's going to do this. So just prepare yourself for that. And I encourage, everybody to prepare yourself for that and everything. But yeah, y'all, so that was pretty much it. I know I talk fast, but I hope it helped anybody that, you know, has any questions with it and everything, like I said, feel free to reach out, y'all. We all in this together. We all, you know, we all the aviation family. We're in this together, literally. And just want to encourage y'all that, you know, it's possible. Let's make it happen. Let's get it done. I know it's been a long time coming. Rather you've been doing it for 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, a week. Let's get it done. You know, it's all about how you prepare for it. And I think I prepared myself well, especially with the oral portion of it and everything. So, you know, and don't forget to always fly the plane too when you do the flying portion of it. So just want to encourage everybody that's possible and get it done. And I hope this video helps you. Just remember, everybody's Checkride is not the same. You know, yours might be different than mine. So just use this as an aid to be prepared for your Checkride and on how it may go. And I pray that it goes super well for y'all. So with that being said, like, subscribe, comment below, and just reach out if you have any questions. You know, I'm not shy. I try to reply to the comments as much as I can, as soon as I can. Sometimes I miss them, might be a day or two later, but you can just always add me on Facebook or Instagram too, just to reach out like that in my DMs or whatever, and we can, you know, you never know, we might build a relationship from this. You know, it's all about networking and rubbing shoulders with the right people and just helping each other out and just paying it forward. You know, it's a big shortage right now in pilots in the airlines. You know, if that's where the route you want to go, but it's just, you know, the point of it is just helping the next person, y'all. So wherever they path they want to end up, or where their ultimate goal is, it's about helping each other, and we're just knowing that we're all in this together. So appreciate y'all watching, y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Safe travels, expand your horizons, no limits.